All right, so today's a little different today. I've got Izabela here, somebody I met the old school way, in person at Whole Foods. So we're gonna go over what stood out, how that happened, and if there's anything you guys can learn from that. Are you ready?
I am.
All right, let's begin. So what stood out to you when I came up to you in Whole Foods just randomly one day?
I think I was definitely surprised. Also because I didn't look particularly attractive at that point. You know that I just moved from Europe here to the US. So I was super jet lagged. I had like the weirdest outfit.
Yeah, you look like a big snowman.
Yeah, I had a snowman hat on. And I just felt like, yeah, surprised, a tad embarrassed potentially as well, but quite impressed that you had courage to approach me in that way because I'm really not used to it. I don't
Okay.
think it's very common these days for any man to do it.
You don't think many men will approach women during the day or just in general?
I think in general, probably during the night, it's, you know, when you're out in the bar or in a pub, might be a bit more comfortable. But
It's kind of expected at a bar because, like, you go out, you know there's gonna be people there. They're gonna talk,
yes,
be social, drinking.
I mean, for some people, that's the main purpose of actually going out, right? So, yeah, I think that for this to happen during the day, I mean, it did happen to me in the past, but there were really few situations.
Okay.
So I was just impressed that you had courage to
Okay.
do that. And it was already like a huge green flag.
Okay, so that was a green flag that I took the guts, I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Do you think most women want to be approached like that and it's just not happening, or?
You know, I think that it's somehow culture based, but that's me speaking, right?
Okay.
Like I was living throughout my entire adult life in a culture that's kind of focused on this equality, and some women take it as an offense to some extent, you can say, but in most cases, I would say women would like to be approached this way,
Okay.
traditional way, rather than, you know, just trying to approach through online dating.
Okay.
And for me personally, I can tell you from my own experience, all the relationships I actually had, they all happened by meeting out and about.
Okay.
In the bar or at work or during the party or at Whole Foods.
Okay.
So I felt like the chances are higher for relationship to evolve in a way. If you meet
Why do you
someone
think
more
that is?
naturally. I don't know. I think that maybe because you see someone already, so you kind of, obviously you take a look at how the appearance, right? But
Okay.
it's, I think it's something else. There is some kind of energy that this person has. You right away have a certain conversation together.
You can kind of get that vibe.
You get a vibe and it kind of goes beyond than just the look. Whereas I think that online dating, it's very much based on this first impression that you get. That's entirely look based.
Okay. You said where you're from, so you grew up in Poland, but you're living in Denmark.
Yes.
And you say that it can be, you say offensive, or like, is it the way that guys approach it, the way they go about doing it, or just in general?
I think
I don't want to be talked to during the day.
I think that in general in Scandinavia things happen quite inverse. It's actually women that approach men.
Yeah, there's that book, Coffee Before Sex, too, or Sex
Yes,
Before Coffee.
yes. They get down to business very quickly, like after even a first date, and then they decide based on how the sex was, whether they want to continue to date and actually invite each other out for coffee or not.
Okay.
And I was in a relationship with a Danish guy, and until now he always tells the story that we met in the bar, but like I looked at him first, like as if I initiated the contact.
Okay.
So I think it's very different, and I think in their perspective it has something to do with gender equality. But for me, because I was raised in Poland, when there's still, I wouldn't say, maybe to some extent more clear division what masculinity is, what femininity is.
Okay.
And there I think men take more initiative approaching women. And
Okay.
and it's not even that, it's just a general thing, how they are about it.
my opinion is that it's the man's responsibility to be the pursuer. Like, you have to take the action, you have to do that. Is that how you feel? Like, you would rather have the guy approach you, or you don't mind if you were in Denmark, you have to go do the approach?
I'm definitely, when it comes to that, I'm definitely more kind of old school, and I prefer when the guy approaches me and he takes initiative to invite me out on a date.
Okay.
Definitely, but I look at it as, taking the best of both, because there are a lot of positive things on how relationships are in Denmark, that people really create partnerships.
Okay.
There are no expectations in terms of roles that the women or men have to play, and for me it's like, I love that, but on the top of it, I think that manners and being a gentleman has nothing to do with equality.
I would agree with that.
And I think that you can create good partnership when, people are kind of equal to each other, but you still maintain certain manners towards each other. Like, I like to receive flowers from a man sometime.
Okay.
And I like to be invited out on a date, but at the same time, like, I would like to cook or bake something for you as well.
Okay.
And I don't think, I just don't want this to be like an expectation in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's more about like blending the best of both. But when it comes to the first move, for sure, I never text first. And I will never approach the guy first.
Okay. Is there, so when a guy, you said it's happened before, when a guy does approach you, are you thinking, what's your immediate thoughts? Is it always just like, is this guy attractive, or is it based on personality? Is there something a guy could say that would immediately be like, I don't really want to talk to you?
I think that, when I was younger, I was maybe paying way more attention to like appearance only, but at this point for me, like, the energy, the passion that you have when you're speaking, your interest in another person,
Okay.
I don't know, your emotional maturity, you can sense those things right away. I mean, they are way more important, and they can actually impact whether I see you to be attractive or not.
Okay.
So I think that the look, it's actually not as important to me. And is there a thing that the guy could say at first? Probably something arrogant.
Yeah, is there a wrong way to, like, if he was overly complimenting to you, would that kind of turn you off a little bit, or?
Yeah, I think that for me, if the compliments are only regarding my look,
Okay.
then I start to feel like, okay, you're just interested in one thing, and you're obviously not appreciating anything about my personality. So I think that, it's nice to hear it. It's always nice to hear a compliment.
Sure.
But I think it's, like, I would like to hear like, hey, you like me because I'm funny, or you like me because you can goof around. Like, you know what I mean? There has to be...
Yeah, it's not, I just want to take you on a date because you're good looking. It's,
Yes.
I want to take you on a date because you're good looking, but also we would get along.
I think it's important to blend these two, right? Because if you're only like, oh, you're great, it can transition into just friendship. So I think that it's still important to build this kind of tension, But if you're only focusing on one thing and saying you're so hot, blah, then, it's like, at least I start to think like, you're probably not interested in really getting to know me better on a personal level.
Okay. Yes, don't be overly complimentary on an approach.
But still, like, do that.
Yeah, do it later.
But don't overdo it.
Don't overdo it. What was it that made you want to say yes to going out with me?
When we met at Whole Foods?
Yeah, when we met at Whole Foods.
I think that what I liked right away is that you were asking me a lot of questions, but not like an interview way, but in a way like having a nice conversation, and you had a genuine interest in getting to know me. And already based on this conversation we had at Whole Foods, like, you find out that I'm a yoga teacher, that I like yoga, and
you just moved here that day.
Right, that I just moved that day. What are the odds, really? He was the first person I met when I moved to Minneapolis. So funny. But what I like the most is that you actually took initiative right away, because you already at that point invited me to join yoga at your fitness studio the next day. So I was like, well, this is great. It didn't feel like too forcey. It was kind of more connected to the interest that we both have.
Okay.
And I think that these two things, like genuine interest, asking me questions and being like brave to do it, and then take initiative.
Okay. Yeah, for guys who do want to start approaching women during the day, if that's what you want to do, you don't want to ask just interview type questions. Hey, where are you from? How are you? Get to, like, respond positively as well. Oh, you're from Poland. That's interesting. Try to find out more about them. I guess I'd say. What do you remember about our first date? Yoga doesn't count. We went to yoga the morning of, but I guess that could count a little bit. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Just way too sweaty to be a first date.
Right? Yeah, no, it's more of a thing you do together. I don't know.
No, but I still think it's great. I think it's great because you get to like see each other doing things that you both enjoy, right? Yeah. But what I remember, you invited me out for drinks. There was like a nice rooftop bar, and what else I remember? I know that we had like really great conversations, and we were really aligning on a lot of things in terms of our hobbies, our interests, how we see life, our values. I think there was just like a major alignment.
Okay.
And then obviously there was also like attraction between us in chemistry that I could feel.
Okay. I guess what were some things that kind of made you realize that we were connected? Was there just the hobbies that we had, the goals that we had, the alignments?
I think it was just a blend of everything. Like I can't point just one thing.
Okay. Did it feel natural, just like easy, natural, like it just kind of clicked? Did you
Yes.
ever feel like, oh, what? Because sometimes I get, what am I doing here? Or
No.
just kind of like, oh, this feels right, this feels normal.
Yeah, I think I had that feeling from the beginning. Although, I think that the first date, it's always a bit of like, it's not that you're trying to pretend, but you're trying to present yourself from like the best
Yeah, you want to look good.
best possible angle, and there is still a little bit of like a push and pull kind of flirting, right? It's fun, but so at that point it's hard to say. It's only based on impressions and based on
Okay.
just the first conversation that you have, and I felt like we were clicking. It was very easy for me to talk to you, and what I really like is that you were interested, so it wasn't one-sided that you would just talk about yourself nonstop.
Okay.
You actually, you just wanted to have a good conversation, because it did happen to me before.
That's happened before?
Yes, on a days when the guy would be just talking constantly about himself, and I felt like, okay.
What do you do in that scenario? Do you still play out the date and just not want to see him again, and you just kind of sit there wondering, when's this over? Or what's going through your head when this is happening?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the right thing to do would be to tell him, like give him a feedback, because obviously he's lacking certain self-awareness, right? Like a good conversation is basically exchange of information, but not like.
Do you think that do you think it's your responsibility for you to tell him that, like give him that feedback, or is that something that I guess maybe he just doesn't know that he's doing it?
Yeah, I think this one it's hard to
It's
say.
a tough question.
It's a tough thing to say, because on one hand I feel like he should know, someone should really tell him in order for him to take like action upon it. But at the same time, there is still quite a lot of people, men, that do not take any feedback, even the constructive one, positively.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always like a risk that he might implode or whatever.
Does that give you some hesitancy to say something? Because in the past, people are not open to feedback?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Plus, I feel like if it's a first date,
yeah, it's first date.
then I'm like, this is just, I don't have, any kind of responsibility over this. But I still feel like it would be nice for him to know, to improve. At least I really believe in personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it would be great if he's open to feedback, but some people aren't, so. I mean, that'd be uncomfortable. You say something and then he freaks out about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to see me again?
Well, I think after the first date, it was already quite obvious to me.
Okay.
Although I have to tell you, I did have at first this impression that you might actually only be interested in something very, very casual.
Okay. Why do you say that?
I don't know. Maybe there were some things that were said between us that were, about like how open you are, or maybe it's about relocating, moving. I mean, we are free, like both quite free flowing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that was at first my impression, but I still felt like this was great, and I would really like to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think after the first date, just overall impression,
Okay. Yeah, I think what's important is, I guess for me, the reason I frame it as casual is that, you want to make sure that the person's the right fit for you. You don't want to just settle down with somebody right away after just a few dates. You don't know if you're the right person together or anything like that.
Oh, for sure. But, I feel like it's important. I mean, we've been dating, but we've been taking it really, really slow. That's at least my perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like we are really giving each other a lot of time to get to know each other. And like build also like friendship behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to rush into anything.
Yeah.
There's no...
So there were no like... I don't know, I don't think we like forced each other to anything. This was all just happening very naturally, but I think that we are both focused on like, I really want to get to know this person first before I commit to anything.
Yeah, it's important who you're going to spend your time with. There is somebody that's going to be good influence on you, going to be a big impact on you, so you don't want to... I know I'm very particular with who I spend my time with. I know you are too. Like, it's important to spend the time with people you want to be around.
So I think that, it's like, it's great that we've done a lot of different things together. So we got to see each other from different perspectives and how we act in different circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think that this was, very helpful. And I think that's why it's good not to just only go out for drinks, but actually do things like, hey, let's do yoga, let's do like go to the lake, let's, I don't know, go to the concert, like try different things together, because that's how you're getting to know another person well.
Yeah. Yeah, the first date, I like to do drinks because you get to know each other very well, and then you can see if, okay, I would like to see you on a second date.
Yes.
And let's do an event. You don't just do drinks all the
exactly.
time.
Yeah. But also, I was on dates with a guy who was, like, not once we had a date that we would just go and sit and have a drink and actually talk. There was always certain activity, like we would go running, we would go swimming, we would go, and I just felt like, because he was really prioritizing his health, and which is great because I do so too.
Okay.
But at the same time, I felt like I always would need to be like plotting into his
Feels like it'd be hard to get to know somebody doing an activity like that too.
That's the thing, that's the thing. So I still think it's important to have the first few dates when you just go out, eat something, drink something.
What are your thoughts on walking dates for the first date?
Well, yeah, I don't want to be one of those, nobody's good enough for me type of woman, because I'm really not. I was doing walking dates because that's how you date in Denmark. I don't think I was once invited on like a dinner date there.
Okay.
I don't do them anymore.
Okay, they were not for you? What don't you like about them? Because I'm with you. I don't think it's a good idea to do a walking date as a first date.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a second or third date, like we're getting to know each other, walking. But first date, I think it's too casual. I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
So my thought is like this. Especially when you're meeting someone like via dating apps.
Yeah, dating apps for sure.
I feel like this is a very low effort type of date. And then in my perspective, if someone invites me on a date like this, he could have literally 7 days like this in a week. So to me, it's like I'm no one really special to him at that point. Because he can literally invite multiple women to go out on walks. Yep. Whereas I think and it's not like I expect to be invited to fancy dinner, to some super expensive restaurant, not at all. It can literally be like, I don't know, it can be a coffee but I just feel like there has to be a minimal effort for me to know that I'm someone special and not like a bunch of other women.
Okay. Does it also show like he took some effort, like forming a plan of we're going to go to this bar for these drinks.
Precisely.
Or not just say, just meet me here and we'll go
Yes.
walk the block.
Yes. Like the initiative for me, it's super important. Also based on like relationships I had in the past where I felt like I have to be in my this masculine energy that I always have to plan everything. And don't get me wrong, I believe that it's nice to like I also enjoy organizing dates for my partner. Like I love it.
As you're dating them or for a first date? Would you want to see a guy who doesn't plan the first date?
No. And I've been with someone like this and it's a no.
Okay.
Not anymore. And like the first few dates, I think they should be organized by a man. But that's just my perspective on it. But then as we go forward, like I'm also so glad to like surprise you with some event tickets to cinema or theater, whatever. I think it's nice, that you both put effort. But yeah, I've had a situation with this one guy, and I suggested let's go to the cinema and see a movie because there is this cute vintage cinema I want to go to. And then I sent him a link to a movie and he's like, okay, so what time should we go? What movie should we watch? And I'm like, well, I've sent it to you, so maybe you can propose something. He's like, we can watch whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, that will be it.
When he says that, are your thoughts immediate like this guy's not going to be able to lead the relationship, or it's just immediate like you didn't even take any effort? Is it more like representative of who he is as a person, or just like you didn't even try?
I think all of the above. All of them. Like low effort, A. B, cannot take any initiative. C, probably not the best leader.
Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Yeah, 100%. If you're, especially a first date, if you're gonna do a first date through dating apps, talking to girls on the street, you have to set up the first date. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Drinks.
Yeah.
At the nice little restaurant. No walking dates. Did you ever have any concerns that I had been divorced?
No.
Because that came up on our first date, I imagine, yeah.
Actually, no, not at all. But maybe if I, 10 years ago, I would look at it differently. But where I am right now, and the men I'm dating, I'm kind of expecting that some of them already been married, been divorced.
Have you been with any, I know there's a lot of guys who struggle with this, I've met quite a few, but they can't help but tell people how bad their relationship was. Like, is that, this is just in general, like, is that, I mean, I know that's a turn off for me, I don't want to hear people talk bad about other people.
I think that especially, when you're dating, the beginning, I mean, always the X-file kind of come up. And so, there are two ways to go about it. I feel like if you're speaking positively about this person, I'm actually okay to listen to it.
Okay.
Like and this is just my perspective on it. I feel like this person shaped you to be who you are right now.
I agree.
And I think, it also shows what lesson you learned, how you grew as a person. And
did you learn from that experience? Did it make you...
Exactly. And then you maybe done some amazing things together that also inspired you in a way. And so I actually don't mind listening about it. But if you are just starting to talk shit about this, it gives a different...
it's not an attractive quality.
It's not an attractive quality, and it right away makes you feel like, oh, how would you talk about me to other people if things would go south between us? So yeah, definitely. But I've had one situation when I was, it was a first date with a guy, and I broke up with my boyfriend maybe like 3 months earlier. And I was just telling a story that we went somewhere, and I'm like, so yeah, there was me and my ex-boyfriend, and then he just interrupted me. He's like, I don't want to hear about your ex. And to me it was like, wow. In my head was like, what happened in your relationship?
Okay, yeah.
That you are so triggered by it.
Shows some insecurity, is what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah, same. And for me it was like a massive turn off. Like there's something, some unresolved trauma, whatever you're holding inside that happened in the past, that it's already on first date reflecting on me.
Right? The first date you're bringing that up?
So obviously there was no other date.
All right, let's switch a little bit. So we talked about how we met, we talked about the date, but in general, what advice would you give men to make them feel more attractive if maybe they're not in the right headspace right now?
I feel that I would probably advise to just first reconnect with yourself and try to find yourself again, because I feel like sometimes in relationships, especially if they are ending and if they were not particularly healthy, we tend to lose ourselves in them.
Okay.
And so we stop taking care of ourselves as much.
Yeah.
And here it's not even about taking your like physical appearance and your health, because this is important no matter what. But I would also probably recommend to focus on self-development, like reflect on what happened and read the books that are helping you to process it.
Okay.
Go to therapy, but if you can't afford therapy, then books are always a good idea.
Would you say that a man who's learning, reading books, self-development is just more attractive in general?
100%. I can tell you that, like, out of all the girlfriends I have, if the guy goes to therapy or do self-therapy through books, podcasts, and actually do self-reflections, I don't know, journaling,
Okay.
like, this is such a green flag. Like, I know friends that are saying, I'm not dating a guy unless he's been through therapy.
Okay.
It's to this point. Because, these days I think a lot of women, they can provide for themselves, right? They're quite financially steady.
Mm-hmm.
So what they are expecting from men, it's getting emotional and like
maturity.
mental safety. And they're expecting them to be mature in that sense.
Okay.
Be able to communicate openly, have an open dialogue, be
able to take feedback, and
able to take and provide feedback in a proper way, and then ability to resolve conflicts in a mature way. So it's not that things happen between us and then you just go offended, like either,
you just shut down
Or
and
you
don't
shut
talk to
down.
each other for days.
And like I've
That's what I
observed
used
that.
to
I
do.
observed it with my parents. Like that's how they are resolving their conflicts, and I
Yeah.
feel like I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's how
they're-
I used to handle stuff.
Right? So for me, like if I know that the guy has been addressing his own emotions, is able to name them even.
Okay.
It boils down to this, and it's not that I want to blame men. Like we are still raising boys in such a way that they are completely disconnected with their feelings, because it's said that it's not masculine enough. And for me personally, ability to apologize, ability to reflect, it's showing so much strength in you as a person, in you as a man.
Okay.
So this is what a lot of women it's looking for these days.
Do you think that's more important than just the way a man looks? Like if a man...
100%.
Okay.
I've been in a relationship with a guy that I felt like had it all, but this was the key element that was missing, and it was a deal breaker. And I would say for many women, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely emotional. I mean, that's kind of where I struggled when I got out of my divorce. I was overweight, didn't have style, didn't know how to have any emotional control, just shut down if I was upset. I couldn't take feedback, would not apologize, just hey, a couple days later we're fine, right?
We're fine.
We're all good, right?
Yeah. So I think for me, if the guy puts effort and I see it, like this is a score,
Okay.
like wow, let's
Or
go.
at least if he's open to, I guess if you're, I don't know if this is true or not, but if you're doing self-development, I'm assuming you're pretty much open to feedback as well. I mean, it kind of seems logical because you're trying to improve,
Right.
so you want more ways to improve yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But like everything that I'm saying, it goes both ways, I think. Also towards women, right?
Yeah, I would agree. What's something subtle that makes you lose interest in a man, even if everything else seems to be well or good, perfect?
For me, and this is me personally, arrogancy. I feel like there is a fine line between the guy being confident and a guy being arrogant.
Okay.
And if you are too full of yourself, you're giving me a vibe that everyone around you is an idiot and you're just like the smartest person in the room that knows everything, that this is a turn off for me, and it's just gonna be a no.
Okay. Why is it such a problem for you?
Personally, I don't know why.
Does it come down to like Because to me, if you're arrogant, you can't take feedback. You can't. Like, if you already know everything, what are you gonna?
I think that you have this perception of yourself that you're superior
Okay.
over other people, and I don't like it. I don't like when other people look down on others.
Okay.
And it seems also quite like unpolite. And yeah, it just, to me, it comes across as very unattractive. So, and it's very hard, like how you master this balance, right, between being confident and being arrogant. But I think, you know, I've been dating guys that manage it well.
Yeah, I think confidence is you're confident in yourself, whereas arrogant is I'm better than others.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas I'm just confident in myself, I can handle situations, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
Arrogance is like I'm just better than you. I can.
And another thing is, you know, if you're really confident, you can laugh at yourself. And I don't know, my first partner, he was bald and he was quite short, and he would always just laugh at himself.
Okay.
That he's the baldy, you know, like, oh, look how soft.
So that is attractive. Yeah, you can make fun of yourself because it doesn't upset you.
Yes, and I loved it. I felt like this was such a sign of exactly confidence. Whereas the other one would be, he's like, he told me, quoting, if I had hair, I wouldn't give other guys even a smallest chance because he's already that amazing. For real. Okay. Both were bald. And look at the approach, so different. One was so off-putting and the other one was just super cute.
Fun and lovable, yeah.
Yeah, so this is so important, like the personality and how you go about things.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think women really crave from a man, but they're not getting? Do you think there's you hear these stories, you hear studies that men are very much wanting to stay single, women are struggling with dating.
Yeah.
Is there something that women just really crave from a man, but it's just not happening?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of talk of like, what are you bringing to the table, right? And all this yada yada. I'm not particularly fond of this social kind of development and dynamics right now between men and women.
Do you think online dating has some of that effect too? Because the man's not having to be masculine to take the lead to go and approach, like to put himself out there. For me personally, I know having to do that builds your confidence as a man. It makes you have to work on yourself if you're going to do that. Whereas online dating, I could just sit behind my computer screen and never actually develop my personality or my behaviors.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it definitely is connected to it.
Okay.
But I think that women, like what I mentioned already, like women want this emotional and like mental safety. They want to feel like seen and heard.
Seen and heard.
And I think that very often they don't get this from men.
Why do you think that is? Like the men aren't interested in what they're saying, or they're not listening? I guess, is that the same thing?
I think might be both. Yes, might be both. And I think that at some point, everyone is just for themselves somehow.
Okay.
And I think that at this point, a lot of women are saying that they can provide for themselves, they're financially independent, they are doing this and this and that. So if they really want to be with someone, this person have to be attuned with their feelings quite a lot.
Yes. Do you think they need to be more masculine and they have to be able to lead? They have to be able to express their emotions. They have to be able to...
I think that's... Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's this definition of what masculine means. It's sometimes so confusing, right? There is this masculinity that's promoted by...
Yeah, there's different variations
right?
of it, yeah.
And let me tell you, like, in most cases, women don't want it.
Okay.
This is not the direction to take. That's my perspective again.
Okay.
I think that, like I said, for me, of course you need to be able to lead. It's not about like you're gonna cry in front of me every other night. But I think that being able to communicate how you feel and communicate what works, what doesn't, and resolve it together, like this is so important.
Okay.
And to me, this is sign of maturity and masculinity.
Yeah, is that a sign of strength that I can express my feelings and I'm not worried what you think?
Yes.
I'm just, this is what I feel.
Exactly.
This
and
is what's happening.
yeah, and being like, hey, let's discuss it. Let's go through it. I want to make sure that, we are growing together as a couple.
Okay.
That we want to become better people for ourselves, but also for each other.
Okay. Do you think there's a difference between expressing your emotions and being like emotional? Like as a man, I can express my emotions, but I'm not also crying about things, or I'm not bringing up problems. Like I'm not coming up with solutions to problems. I'm just
100%.
Okay.
And then I've also happened to be with someone in the past that was very emotional. And like you said, there is a difference, right? You can either like run in despair and not be really solution oriented, or you can say like, hey, I have a day, I'm feeling frustrated, sad, angry, or scared, but then you kind of talk it through and you figure out solution and you go.
Okay.
So I think that's also about that. And for me personally, being able to open up about me being vulnerable in front of you, and then you being vulnerable back with me, this creates the intimacy and the true connection.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have it, then there is no chance that I can be with someone.
Okay.
So, but absolutely, like I wouldn't like to be with a guy that's like collapsing and it's emotional, and then I need to like drag you and be like, everything is gonna be fine.
It's fine if you're
don't
angry. You can
cry.
express your anger, but don't just.
Like,
I'm upset about this thing, but I don't need to cry about everything that happens today.
Yeah, like we don't want that, No. You also don't want to be the one that's like dragging this person emotionally and being like a mama.
And at that point, then you're the man of the relationship. Like, come on, I'll drag you there. Let's get you out of this chair.
And I was there, and that's exactly the reason why I didn't want to continue that. I believe that I can have good partnership with someone, but at the same time, for the man to be gentleman towards me. And be in his masculine energy, and for me to be in my feminine energy, and we can create it, still be equal and still be partners, but maintain
we have our
the
roles.
core, right? I believe it is possible.
I believe in gender roles.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I think that's it for today. It's getting dark in here, but that's fun. If you are interested, what's your YouTube? Have them check this out.
Oh yeah, so
I'll link it.
I just started a YouTube channel. It's more connected to like solo traveling, expat life, and a bit of a mental health on the go. I just started it last month. It's called Is on the Move. I think it will be linked underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested, check it out. And I've had like so much fun speaking to you today.
Yeah, it was a good
I really
time. I hope
enjoyed
you guys learned something. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this. If you agree with her opinions, my opinions. What you want to see? Maybe we'll do another collab about something. I don't know. It's pretty fun. It
was.
All right. We'll leave it there. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, you're